Hello, everyone. This is Joshua Pugh, the founder and artistic director of Dark Circles Contemporary Dance here in the USA. And I am currently in my childhood bedroom in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is on the traditional land of the Mescalero Apache and the Mansos. And this is our third week of late night coffee, where I've been chatting with 13 of today's most sought after choreographers and some of my dear friends who really inspire me, sharing some of their creative process and their thoughts with you. Today's conversation was actually recorded on August 20th at 10 p.m. Zurich time because two of our choreographers are based in Europe. And so to accommodate them, we recorded ahead of time. I will still be responding in the chat box to any questions or comments or observations, dropping some links to things that the choreographers mentioned that might be interesting to you. Um, so it will be live-ish today. And of course, all of our conversations that we've had so far are living on our Facebook page and also on YouTube. So if you've missed some in the past, please be sure to go back and check that out. But without further ado, I would like to start this week's Late Night Coffee with Jay Carlon, Fabio Liberti, and Isan Rustem. Enjoy.
Looks good.
Okay, here we are.
Hello.
Here they
Hi,
are.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So, as we get started, why don't I first just ask you, what is your coffee order, since this is a late night coffee situation? Although Jay and I are doing it in the afternoon because this is 10 o'clock p.m. in Europe for Fabio and for Isan. But I'll start with Isan. What is your coffee order?
Well, normally, if it was 10 a.m., my coffee would be, the strongest latte possible. And if it was 10 p.m. as it is now, and we were not having a chat, it would be a fabulous glass of rosé. But for now, it's my gorgeous Swiss water with a slice of lemon. Cheers.
Perfect. Fabio, what are you drinking?
Yeah, I'm afraid I also have to disappoint to break the first rule of the late coffee. There's no coffee just because I need to sleep late after that, and I need to work in the morning, and I'm already having like some sleeping to put the brain asleep these days is a little bit tricky. So I had to skip and get water as well.
We are so boring in Europe. Look at that. Wow.
It's true.
Isn't that the place for evening coffee too? Like after dinner coffee. I miss, after dinner.
No, we're all about whiskey or wine around here.
It's a legend.
You can switch it up. You can do some whiskey.
Jay, what do you got going? What would be your coffee order?
What would be my coffee order is a few years ago I spent some time in India, and I love like the butter ginger coffee. So they put like butter and ginger in their coffee, and it just like wakes me up and makes me feel like I have energy all day. So that's like what I usually do when I wake up. But I'm drinking moringa tea right now, so I broke the rules on the coffee situation also.
Okay, even though it was my idea, I will confess that I am also not having coffee right now.
Oh, really?
Because I've already had two today, but I would be drinking a latte if I was. And if I was in LA where Jay is, I would be at the Coffee Bean, which is actually where we founded Dark Circles, was in the Coffee Bean in Tea Leaf in South Korea. So still my favorite coffee shop, really, even though it's
I love that story about how you founded Dark Circles there. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this is, we spent so many nights just sitting and drinking coffee and eating grilled pork because we both had day jobs, me and the guy that I started Dark Circles with, and we would, after our long day of him in the military service and me at teaching kindergarten, we would go to rehearsal in the countryside where we had free rehearsal space. And then when we were done around 10 or 11, we would go have dinner, and then we'd go have coffee. And we just didn't ever really want to go home because that meant the next morning was coming and we had to go back to our quote unquote day jobs. But we had so many great conversations about, what dance was. And we really I felt really inspired and really invigorated by that. And I miss that. And so it's really exciting to share it with you guys, because I don't think I've gotten to ever have coffee with any of you. I have definitely had Thai food with Isan. Fabio, I don't remember what we ate together when you were in Dallas.
Yeah, we went to a Texas place, whatever that means. So like I went to yeah.
I do remember taking you to the cowboy bar.
Yeah, exactly. I remember because there's a picture of that, of that place. It was nice. It was really nice.
Well, I've got a few quick questions then. First of all, if you just tell us where you're at. We'll let you start, Jay.
Oh, great. My name is Jay Carlone. I am in Los Angeles, California, which is the original land of the Tongva people. And it's 1 o'clock here, so good afternoon.
And Isan, where are you at?
I am in my adopted land of Switzerland. I'm in Zurich, in my home here, where I've been pretty much since, no, that's not true. I was in Germany as well. But I've been here more than often. And I'm from London, originally from England, although I sound totally German now. So I'm home in Zurich.
Our adopted homes, right?
Yeah.
Fabio.
I'm in Slovenia this very moment. I'm on the second week of a choreographic residency. That's gonna go on for another week next week. So I'm actually on the road. My base is Copenhagen. I've been based there for 10 years now. But if everything goes according to plan, which we know plans don't mean much lately, but I will not be actually in Copenhagen for this year. I will be with my suitcase a bit traveling.
Fabio, you have a big project coming up, no? One that's all your own.
Yeah, I have a premiere the 19th of November. I have the creation process in September and October. And that's one project. It's in Denmark, yeah, but not in Copenhagen. It's in the second largest city, that's Aarhus. And that's my own project. It's the second independent project that I got supported. Thank you from Denmark. It's not fun, but yeah. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a lot of work, but anyway, it's always a lot of work, so it doesn't matter.
Do you mind if I jump in? Like, what are you planning on doing? Like, do you have like?
Yeah. The project is it's set in and it's a duet. It's a duet, and actually I'm co-choreographing with the other performers. So we are both choreographers and performers. As this is this actually is something that was born as a kind of a late night coffee. This was a very casual conversation over Skype with this friend of mine 3 years ago. And it was kind of a joke. And then we laughed, and then we were like, wait, is this an idea? And then it became an idea, and then it got actually much farther than I expected. Yeah, which is amazing. At the same time, it got me off guard because I wanted to stop dancing. And now I'm like kind of dancing a full evening duet. That is not my plan. That was not physically, that was not my plan. And you know, and project takes so long time to get happening. So at some point in one of the meetings, I had to mention that one of the performers was kind of aging, so we had to kind of hurry the process a little bit.
May I ask, did you get funding from one source, or did you apply to many different people? I don't really know the structure in Denmark.
In Denmark, it was there was an open call for from one of the houses that's called Bora Bora, and they gave there was an open call for a residency program and for a co-production. and we have applied to that, and we got the co-production. So we got part of the project supported by Bora Bora, and then after that we applied to the state state fund, and then we got the other part covered. So it's we have a house that produces, and we have the fund from the states.
That's so.
And we have some funds from the city of Aarhus as well.
Congratulations.
It's
Isan, what are you working on right now?
Oh gosh, I've yeah, it's been a very interesting period, as it has for all of us. Oh my gosh, I think so much got cancelled in such a period of time, and with so much uncertainty. I was in the middle of so many different things, you know, as many freelancers are, you know, you're never just kind of working on one thing. There's always things overlapping, and you're preparing for things in the future. And then here in Europe, when you work with opera houses, you know, their planning is so far in advance. And so I felt like there was so many things going on at the same time that all just got sort of stopped. And then the uncertainty of when is that going to pick up again, or how is this going to happen? So I've decided to actually put pretty much everything on hold now until January. I have a small premiere in Germany with a very good friend of mine. She's now the director of a company in East Germany, and she asked if I would do a small sort of Corona version of a piece, you know, with 6 dancers. But it's so interesting because the situation in Germany is you have to have, so I know it's, maybe I need to explain, in Europe things are different to the US. I know how things are there at the moment, and we are able to work, but in very different capacities. So for example, here in Switzerland, I'm now teaching at the university. I put my professor hat on, and I started teaching the bachelor's course this week. And you know, they have divided the classes up into 10 and 10. But then I teach on the other side of the street, and I can have 30 people in the studio. So things are very different. But then I go and work in Germany, and you have to have 6 meters from one another, which means I'm trying to create a premiere, but I have to do 3 rehearsals. So like I choreograph in the first rehearsal, teach what I've just taught to the first dancers in the second rehearsal, teach it. So everything is longer and slower, but I'm so grateful to be with humans again. Like, it's so nice that I'm sweating like a crazy ass, like thinking I'm 20 again, and I'm really not 20 anymore. And but there's humans there, and we can do something. So actually the first time I will see them, we have this premiere in September. The first time we will have all the dancers together in studios on stage. So wow. That's also a scary thought. So like you have to change a little bit how you plan things. And thankfully I'm sort of very Swiss, quite organized. So there are little things here and there. I had something in the Netherlands, which was just canceled. I have something in Canada, which is on hold for October. I have another thing in January, which looks like it's happening in Canada, but everything in the States is off. And that was a large chunk of my work. So I decided, hey, look, I want to be proactive. I want to continue. So, and I love to, our work is a transmission of information, right? That's what we do, from our teachers, the choreographers we work with, to us and via. And I love to teach, and I haven't had the opportunity so much in the last 15 months or so. So it's been really nice to reconnect with the local dancers here and share knowledge. So I'm enjoying very much being back at the university and teaching the beautiful next generation. So I'm sort of between 2 worlds, waiting to see what's going to happen.
That's so exciting. I think it's funny too. I feel like that's how we used to put things together when we first started Dark Circles. We would have 2 dancers who could come in on Monday, Wednesday at 3 p.m. And then we would have 2 other dancers who could only be there on a Saturday. And then by the time you've finish creating the piece, you get everybody on stage just that one time for dress rehearsal, and then it's a performance, right? Because you have no budget, work, right? Trying to make it work. Yeah, exactly. The name of the game.
Work. Hey, glass half full. Let's make it work. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Jay, what do you got going on? What are you working on?
Well, I'm in America, so things are. So I kind of feel like COVID has kind of been following me, because I was in Asia doing a residency in Thailand in January, February. And then I went to the Philippines to visit my family and kind of get to as research for my next work. And then I came back to America and everything shut down the week. My flight was canceled for like, my return flight from the Philippines was like extended 3 days because they canceled all the flights. So I was like nervous, I was stuck there. And then once I got back to America, everything shut down. I had a huge commission. I was really depressed at the beginning of it because I was like top or 25 to watch in 2020, and now you can't watch me. So I lost a big commission. That was like the first time I've ever gone into a project where I felt I didn't have to worry about the money. Like it was all just funded. And that was postponed and now it was canceled completely. So I don't know. It doesn't look like there's going to be any live performance stuff in America for the rest of the year. And I do site-specific work. So everyone has been like, Jay, you could do a social distance dance performance. And I'm like, I don't know it just feels like not the right thing to do. So what I've been doing is I've been spending the past 3 years focusing on my decolonization practice. And I think I've talked to you, Joshua, about like queering technique and trying to reimagine what technique is. And then that's kind of infiltrated into my experience as like a colonized body. So I've been doing some Zoom dance classes that are focused on decolonizing the body. So before this, I never identified as a dance teacher because I'm not really big on dance phrases. And I also teach yoga, and as a yoga teacher, I never thought of myself as like healer, but now I'm slowly starting to realize like that I have this, I don't want to say gift, but I feel like, especially now in quarantine, there's a lot of disembodiment, which I think is a Western practice. And I'm trying to go back to my roots and figure out what decolonization is for me. And a lot of it is being embodied. So that's where I'm at right now. Yeah. Just
that's super exciting.
Gardening, being in the sun, loving my skin, which is a new thing for me, actually. Loving myself is new. As a brown body, it's been a new thing for me. So.
Yeah, I think this reckoning has done magical things for a lot of people. Magical in all the ways that can mean, all the meanings that word has, all the connotations. I don't imagine that we can come out the other side and not be changed somehow. The systems that we're working in, I don't know how we go back to, the funding systems that we have, like you're working in right now in Fabio, and to the sort of, I don't know what's going to happen. It's so sort of exciting and interesting. The other thing that I've found is that with this space and time, I've been producing things for like 10 years. Dark Circles is now 10 years old. We started in Korea 10 years ago. And so it's been constantly producing stuff, work, content, all those things for 10 years. And it's been so nice to stop for a little bit and feed myself. I don't think we take the time to do that very often. I've read like 18 books. Is anybody reading anything good? Fabio is like shaking his head. Are you reading something good?
Oh my God. I'm reading something that I probably overestimated myself a little bit. Because it's a biology book that I just didn't expect it to be so technical, so biology. And it's about the memory, how the brain works and how the information get registered and how they translate into short memory and long memory. This sounds like I could understand it, but I really overestimated myself. Like now I'm page 300 and I'm started getting familiar with the information. I was, anyway, yeah, I've been reading a lot. Actually, this is one of the great things of these months. Like,
fabulous. I went back I pulled out old books. Like I was like, I want to see what I had, because like, also for me, like, I mean, I don't know how I've been traveling a lot. So we got a new apartment in December with my husband, and we were sort of like, things were in boxes. So actually COVID time for us was, okay, we're here. This is also new for me. And let's unpack. And I pulled out all my boxes of books and I was like, Tales of the City. I don't know if you guys.
Yes.
Okay. And
my favorite.
Queer history. I was like, and I mean, I have all of them. I read them as a teenager. So I was like, oh, perfect. So I went back to Tales of the City and I loved it.
It's such good comedy. It's such great writing, but it's got such a deep heart too. It's really special. And Jay, I'm obsessed with your shirt, aside from the fact that you're going to get books.
It's a traditional Filipino shirt.
It's beautiful.
Called the Barong, and yeah, it's vintage. I love it. It's my like day shirt. But I'm reading this book called The Medicine Bag by Don Jose Ruiz. It's about the kind of Toltec tradition. It's like a native indigenous American tradition of like how to create an altar and a medicine and like a essentially like a tote that you carry around and gather like things from nature. And it's kind of just to help me get in tune with like shamanic rituals and ceremonies. So it's really easy. It's like I've read it multiple times, like over quarantine.
That's so cool. I have now got something on my book list. And maybe not a biology text, although I've always wanted to make a work about memory.
Oh, but then you should. It's Eric Kandel, but the title now is yet. But you can. But I have to say there are some. No, it's some parts are very inspiring, especially not all the information. But then he speaks a lot about how he made the discoveries, because he starts and he tells. There's a lot of things that I find in common with creating art, because he is as a scientist is absolutely following intuition, and he needs to get ideas. So for instance, in the beginning, the first years, he has a big fear to run out of ideas, and that it's actually super nice how he leads you through how the ideas have come, because it's not at all about studying. You study, but then you have to invent things that don't exist, or to find ways to discover something that was not discovered before. And then in the process of doing that, I find a lot of similarities with us that I'm like, oh, it's very nice, because he wrote this actually at the end of his life. So it's actually very nice to see that, to read that fear, and then how things have got together and the pieces have fallen together. It's really.
I think that's a real fear for creators, for makers of things, that you won't be able to find the next thing, or every time there's like a new commission that comes, there's just a tiny hint of panic where you're like, am I going to be able to do? I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this.
Tiny. You have it tiny.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's very big. It's not tiny at all. It's like
overwhelming.
Yeah, that's common.
I do feel like, though, inspiration sort of comes from everywhere. Like you were saying, Fabio, it can be a conversation. Actually, the name for Dark Circles was a joke, because we were so tired, and I got this call. We were doing a festival in Korea, and the director of the festival called me and was like, I need a name for your company. And I was like, she was like, is it Joshua Ballet Company? And I was like, no, absolutely not. That is not the name of this. I mean, it's just me and some friends, it's not really a company. And she was like, no, you have to have a name. It's an international dance festival. And so I came up with some random name. And then I went to rehearsal and I told the dancers, and they were like, you know, we should call ourselves Panda Dance because we have these dark circles, or we should like call us Dark Circles Contemporary Ballet because we have these like to our knees dark circles under our eyes. And a couple, you know, months later, we were sitting at the coffee shop and we were like, you know, I mean, it's kind of a funny joke, but don't we kind of like the name. Like it's not terrible, but I really do feel like inspiration sort of comes at you from everywhere and it sort of emerges. I'm wondering if there's anything that's sort of inspiring you right now, Isan.
In terms of
just, I don't know, anything that's like sparked your interest and you've been like, oh, that could be a good something.
I think you know, I like how you spoke about, and it's true, you know, we always have this fear of, okay, what to do next, or you know, maybe you did something and it resonated with people and you think, oh, that's, you know, maybe they want more of that. And it's so easy to go down that route. Like it would be so easy to go down that route of it. Something you've done that you know worked, okay, well, I can just do it again. And I'm forcing myself as much as I can to the best of my abilities and knowledge to not fall into, I call it the same pasta, different sauce syndrome. Very Italian, right? Same pasta, different sauce. How many choreographers do we know where you see their work and you're like, I feel like it's the same steps, it's just, there's different music and different costume, the same pasta, different sauce. So I'm always trying to challenge myself. Pinterest is a great source of inspiration for me. Sometimes I'm coming up with like a simple beginning and I'm putting those code words in and I go, wow, and these things pop up and that idea brings another idea. And I mean, I'm such a lover of music. I mean, I studied first as a musician before I ever did a step of dance, so it's always impossible for me to ignore that. So I also then have this Spotify playlist of like inspiration, and sometimes I'm putting this, okay, that matches with that, or it's a story, or it's a, I don't ever think that there's one thing I'm like into, because sometimes the joy of what we do is I get to meet so many different types of dancers also. And I think when I was younger, I was super stuck with what I'm going to do. And I would be so planned when I came in. This is going to happen on camp 8. This is going to be then. This is a duet. And I did those pieces and I always felt a little bit stuck. It worked exactly to my plan, but was that the best I could get out of it? Probably not, right? So I've learned to, I call it like penciling an idea out and then coloring it in. When you meet such different types of dancers, I don't have my own company. I mean, there's the Northwest Dance Project, which I feel is my family, where I can go to and we know each other so well, and that goes faster. So I have that little nugget, which is very precious. And then when you go from dancers who are maybe more classically oriented, or then super physical, and then I've learned to somehow come with an open mind and also see what people can bring with my idea and my beginning and my way. So I think I'm interested in lots of things. I'm never stuck on one idea. I mean, when COVID stopped, there were 6 pieces going on, like in different forms of formation. One stopped on the day of the premiere. Like the dancers were in tears, like they found out during the class at the morning of the premiere. I was about to go do The Rite of Spring in Portland. I mean, there were so many different levels of, so I think there's always, I'm trying for myself as well as a choreographer to not get stuck on one idea, like what interests me. It's so broad, and I want to utilize all of that so I don't put myself in a single box. That was a long answer, I'm sorry.
No, it's great. I mean, we have all night, right? Or not really exactly an hour, but in theory, we could talk all night until 4 a.m. until we have dark circles to our knees. And we have to go to our next job. Jay, what about you? You were talking a little bit about decolonizing and that sort of thing. What else is sort of inspiring you right now?
You know, like, I feel like especially us in America, we keep saying when we come out of this, we can't return back to how it used to be. And I'm realizing the more my art practice, I'm just realizing how colonized my art practice is, and what does decolonizing it mean. And I don't know, like I am a product of the contemporary modern dance training world. Like I trained with Ching Ching, we graduated together. Yeah. So that's how we're friends. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I can merge my interest with decolonization, sustainability, with my art practice. So what does that mean? I I'm not interested in creating anything this year, um, because I feel like, one, I want to slow down, and I feel like colonization tells us that we got to go, 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 go. And the beautiful thing about this time is now we can sit down and read books that have been collecting dust, or revisit those books. Now we can tend to the earth, and I have a garden that, like, I made dinner last night with vegetables all from my garden. The only thing that I didn't use for my garden was the salt, the olive oil, or the coconut oil, and the miso paste. Everything else was I grew. And I was like, that felt like I was just getting to know myself, my ancestors, a little bit deeper. And I'm like, how can this aspect of my life right now intersect my art making practice? I don't know. I don't have the answer to it, but I'm excited about them converging. Um, yeah.
I feel like we can't separate those things, right? I mean, who we are outside of the studio is exactly the same person we are on the inside of the studio. I think you're right about time being a colonizer. That's really, I've been obsessed with watching the talks on HowlRound. If you haven't, if you don't know about HowlRound, it's this sort of theater commons, like a common space where people, you know, have, there's lots of talks by all different kinds of people on all different sorts of topics, and there are specific topics on, you know, Asian American theater and on indigenous theater and all these things. But they mentioned one day, somebody said on one of them that time is the greatest colonizer, and I think that's really true. You know, it's really easy to get stuck in that trap of feeling like things have to happen at a certain time and you have to have coffee at 10 p.m.
I mean, it's funny. I feel like people of color like rate each other on how late they are. Like, oh, this group of this subordinate group is the latest, and I'm like, and I've just been trying to redefine that as like just divine timing, like just honoring time in a different way. But
I like that divine timing. I like that.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, Filipinos are chronically late for everything. They'll tell you to leave, and it'll be like
Turks.
Yeah. So, yeah, but time is something that I'm trying to get a better relationship with. Like Fabio was saying, sleep has been an issue, and that's been something that I feel like sleep and time, I don't really have. I have a different relationship with now. Now, with the exception of Zoom meetings, I don't work. Right? So unless I have a Zoom meeting, I'm like staying in bed till 11 o'clock.
Good for you. I can't. I like make myself get up and do a million things. I just can't get away from like that anxiety about having to make things happen. I'm really, really working on that.
I actually have to say that in the period of total lockdown, when I was in Italy, that was the month of March. And I also always had this problem with the time, and especially in the last years. And then finally there was this time, and then I just found myself recreating exactly the same structure and stress on an indoor. Like just the tasks were very different, but now finally I could go back to yoga, which I wanted to go back. I used to practice before, and then I lost the practice. So now I had like this every day I had to do my yoga, but then every day I also had to do like my movement research, and then every day I had to kind of like spend some time with my close family that was living with me. And then just the tasks changed, but not the amount of tasks that I have put to myself. And then I was a bit disappointed because sorry,
go on.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that's something to do with how we are? I mean, as dancers, you know, we're somewhat like masochists to our art, right? Like it already comes from the training. Like if I think about my teachers, like I never stopped, and I realized I don't know how to stop. So, I mean, I I'm also reading these books, all these cookbooks. These are all cookbooks. I've been cooking like 4-course menus every day. Like my husband started to complain because he's getting large, and I'm like, I'm bored. I gotta cook. I gotta do something. I mean, at least and then like, you started talking about your food. So this is our tomato from our balcony. Like, so we started. Shut up! Sorry, I can't swear. Like I've been busy doing nothing, but like I can't stop. I don't know how to stop. Is that not just how we are as like hustlers and artists? And I mean, I don't know.
There is something that I don't know if it has to do with us as artists. I don't know, but there is something wrong there. There is something installed wrong. But I think it has to do. I think it's so deep. Like for instance, I spend a month, and I don't think that's at all enough time to deconstruct that system and that habit and the ability to actually stay still. Because even when we are talking about enjoying time, we're still talking about doing things. So I wonder if, yeah, I mean, I don't know, because maybe we are meant to do things.
Yeah, I also feel like dancers in particular, and maybe especially like choreographers, have illustrious lives. Like I feel like our lives are very exciting, or they're just, if not exciting, they're like very, it's always like we're doing something, and once we're done doing this something else started before that, and we never take the time to regenerate or even notice that we're depleted, because we're just at a constant state of depletion. So we're operating, I feel like all of us are operating at this, I don't know, I'm also someone that like gets a high off of like being busy, but it's been really confronting for the past 6 months to not be busy. And I'm like, if I can't even be with myself and feel comfortable, like how can I be with other people?
Do you feel it's getting easier over the time?
It ebbs and flows. You know, there are some days where I'm like feeling like I have all this energy and joy, and then some days where I feel like, what are we doing? And I think that also has to do with the state, the political and health state and going on in America. There's this energy that's kind of, it feels like a lot to bear. So I feel like I'm constantly like brushing it off and blowing off all the dust, because it's exhausting right now. Just even the news in America. I'm sure you're getting it in Europe, our news.
I'm obsessed. I mean, it's the first thing I do in the morning. I make a coffee and I sit and I watch the news, and 80% of it is dominated by what's happening in the US right now, because it's so important to the world. I mean, yeah, yes, we are getting it in case.
Yeah.
I have to say that I just shared with Joshua before that in the last 10 days since I came to the residency, I got to that place, that very lucky place where I have a theater that is 5 minutes walk from the place I'm sleeping, and it's a small village where there is nothing really, and I have actually got deeper in the process of what I'm researching, and I have actually stopped looking at any news, which is always, as everything has a sense of guilt, because it's like you're supposed to, as a human, as a artist, you are supposed to be. And at the same time, the last years for everyone, the news have been many and intense, and it's so nice. I mean, I figured that anyway. I sense that things are not well, and I keep on receiving emails of my flights canceled. So I'm like, I'm I get the vibe of where I'm going back to the news, what I'm gonna find. But yeah, I don't know. And this happened also during the lockdown in March. There's been a moment that the news have been overwhelming, and also in Italy, I don't know, but there's this habit to keep the news on while you eat. This has always been the case in my family, and there was a moment where I would actually get anxiety. So I had to say, we need to switch the news off. Like, at least while we eat, we cannot. We got it that, like, because at that point in Italy it was like a matter of numbers, of daily numbers that were constantly be updated by the hours. And I, like, even if for one day I don't know the exact number, I understand, and I'm locked in the house. Like, we had the police. I don't know if you had that nice, if you have the police, but we had the cars going with that you couldn't leave. Like,
Where
it was
were you in
clear.
Italy that time? Where does your family live?
Asti, which is close to Torino, in the north.
Okay, so
It
it was
was
very
like close to Milano, yeah, Bergamo, to the area. Yeah, it's just about how much news are necessary. But I don't think it's about how much news. It's the kind of news that they like, which kind of news you listen to, or if it's the show news, which was the case of the TV that my family watches. Sorry, I don't know why I shared that part of the story.
Well, I think when I go on a residency, one of my favorite, I mean, I love to go on residencies. It's my favorite. It feels like vacation for me, because you don't have to deal with your day-to-day life, and you're only concentrating on making something. And then, like, when I was doing a residency with Madco in St. Louis, every day I worked for 5 or 6 hours, and then I would go home and I would watch Monk. Like, I'd fall asleep on the couch watching Monk, which is a great TV show. But I also found a lot of inspiration in those times too, because you're doing new things, you're doing things outside of your regular time pattern, your regular schedule, and there are things you can turn off when you're doing a residency, I think, that you can't turn off when you're in your day-to-day sort of space. I totally get it. Also, I traveled to New Mexico during the quarantine and stayed with my family for a few weeks in the desert, which was really, really wonderful, because I could just be somewhere beautiful and go hiking every day and spend some time with my family, which, normally, how would I ever get to spend more than, a couple of days with my niece and my sister in our busy adult lives? We just don't get that. And she and I were best friends growing up. And so, but the news was always running at the house, and it does really ratchet up your anxiety, certain kinds of news.
What are you in the? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No. Go ahead.
What are you up to? Like, basically, same question back to you. Like, what is inspiring you? What are you up to at the moment?
Like I said, I've been reading a lot, which has been really nice. I double majored in English in college, and so it's been nice to come back to text and looking at figurative language. And I really like to read fiction, and I think that's how I can understand things better, through narrative, through story. So I've been reading a lot. I bought a $100 bike that I've been riding for 14 miles every day to the lake. I'm lucky enough to live right on a trail, and so I'll ride to the lake on my little $100 bike, ride to the lake, and there's a flock of green parakeets at this lake in the middle of Dallas. And so I go and look for the parakeets. I would just go sit under the trees, listen for the noise, and then go look for the parakeets. And, I've got a couple of things cooking. I'm getting ready to start teaching at SMU. I'm teaching composition there, teaching a couple other places too. So, trying to piece together, trying to make myself busy again, the way that we do, but also taking a bit of a pause to feed myself a little bit, to to listen a bit more before I tell myself what to do.
I think if I can connect to, I think, I don't know if it happens that I felt a little, not pressure, but it seemed like a lot of people assumed that in this, especially as soon as the first weeks and months, that the artist finally had the time to get ideas. And I actually had the list of my ideas in that period. There was something about, first of all, I think everything was way too disorienting, and that an idea would have needed, like, you would need time to let everything sink and even understand what's happening in a much bigger, how you say, perspective. And basically nothing was coming anyway. Then, I don't know, I spoke with someone that made me notice, that had the same feeling, and that made me notice that we also get the most of idea by interacting with people. So the moment that the point of interaction, that then of course it became digital, but yeah, we could talk about that part of the experience. Yeah.
To touch on what you just said, I also feel the same way. I gave myself a task. I gave myself really a list at the beginning to keep myself busy, so that I have something to do every day. And along that list was, okay, in this period when I thought it was going to be like 2 months, right? Mm-hmm. At the beginning, I think we all, in Europe, we heard this 2-month thing. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare 3 creations. There are things coming up, like, let's use this. No, I did my taxes. I cooked way too much food. I applied for my Swiss citizenship. Like, I did all that other stuff that needs to be done. But then I realized, hey, you've been creating the piece the whole time, just without realizing, because so much has gone on in this period that can only but change us and influence us and drive us. I mean, we can't deny that we are going to be the same post-COVID, post Black Lives Matter, post everything that is happening in the world than we were before. And I think that all plays a role. And I think just by experiencing this totally unique time in our lives, a time of incredible change, I think we can only but bring that to our next piece. So I think it's been happening without, like, unconsciously in the background. And I'm curious to know how that will change.
And I'm curious what those ideas are that are like hovering back there that just haven't popped to the front yet. You know, that's always the most exciting. Shadi jokes that he always knows what I'm going to do 3 years before I do it, because I'll start to like think about something, but it won't, I mean, I have no concept or no awareness of it happening, but that's something he always jokes about. Okay. Well, to sort of wrap up, which makes me very sad, I've got one more question, which is, and I think it sort of piggybacks on what you were saying, Ihsan, but what is one piece of advice you would give to young creators, dance makers, just, you know, the one piece of advice that you would give, or that you have been given, maybe, is another way to put that. And I'm going to toss it to Jay first.
Okay. So one of my mentors is Jesse Zarrett, who I met at American Dance Festival in 2012, but he's at University of the Arts in Philadelphia now. And he taught me the efficacy of the imagination. And so I really started to fully believe in the imagination. And in order to make change happen, you need to imagine it first. And actually, I'd love to do it here on this screen with you all. So like right now, let's imagine we're holding a wedge of a lemon. So go ahead. Imagine you're holding a lemon, or if you're actually holding it, maybe you don't even need to use your imagination. But we're holding the lemon, and just examine it and look at the, you know, the juice of the lemon inside of it, and imagine you can see the rind, and smell the lemon. And using our imagination or your actual slice of lemon, we're going to bite into the lemon. So take a bite. Okay, and maybe you are creating a sour face. Maybe your salivary glands are beginning to activate. So right now, using just your imagination, you were able to change your biology, change your cellular makeup. So if that is true, imagination is real. Um, it, then and imagination is necessary for change. How can we use our imagination within our dance technique, in our relationships with our families, or wanting to get splits or have better turnout, or creating social change through Black Lives Matter? You have to imagine it, right? So like Martin Luther King had to imagine a better union before he brought that to the people. So that's the one thing. I would, I think dancers are great at imagining things, and I think young dancers, I would love it if imagination was integrated into technical training. And it, you know, like with Gaga movement language, that's already there. Like the imagination is stimulated, but how within other modalities can imagination be integrated into your training? So yes, your imagination is real, children. If I'm talking to the youth right now, it's imagination is real.
And adults, every time, Jay, truthfully, every time I see you, I learn something from you, and I really appreciate that about you. I really do. I was just talking to my students yesterday or the day before about the lines from your
Oh yeah.
from your center to your big toe, and from all of that stuff that you taught when you taught company class for Dark Circles a couple years ago. So thanks for
Great.
the wisdom. Fabio.
Oh, I I really struggle with this question. I don't know what to answer because I myself am I don't know. I to young creators, I would. I mean, I can just say what I try to to develop and coexist with, and this the feeling of unknown. Now, in this specific moment, we all have that feeling, but the artist, the choreographer, the creator, the dancer has to coexist with the unknown on a daily basis. And it's all kind of unknown. It's not only the if you know if there's a job or if there's not, it's also if you get a job, if you have an idea, is there an idea or not? If you get an idea, you will be in the unknown of how is the process gonna go, because it is not in the control. It's a series of elements that falls together in place. When it falls together, it's pure magic. It's amazing, but you cannot actually control that all pieces fall together. So you kind of have to trust the unknown, or maybe it's to trust the imagination that Jay was saying. So but that is what I am trying to what I'm trying to practice, is to give myself to the unknown every day. So get familiar to that feeling, because you won't, it's not just in the beginning. So that's like that's a status that will be, but it's amazing. So
That's wonderful. Isan, you're in the
Yeah,
seat.
it follows on from Fabio. You just to quote, you get familiar with the unknown. I think when we dare to be vulnerable, I mean, magic can really begin to happen. And I think that don't try and be perfect. Perfection is so overrated. And, you know, we learn by the pure honesty and vulnerability. So I spoke to students today, and I mean, there was a girl, and she was just so perfect, you know, and I was like, girl, like, close your eyes and do it again. I'm not, you need to like, drop this concept, because this is 2020. Like, we are all searching for that something else, right? And I'm curious about what I don't know yet, not what my teachers knew. You want to take that information and see where we as young people can take it. You are the future. You know, it's this age-old saying, I wish I knew then what I know now, right? you know, I mean, I had I loved my time as a dancer. I had 15 years solid, and it was beautiful. And I tell you, I mean, I'm old now, and I mean, I'm medium old, but oh, I wish I would do it again. I really don't wish. I am super happy retired. I have no desire to be back on the stage. But the freedom I experience now with this, like, not caring to be, like, this research, discover who you are, but be honest. That's the best thing for me, be honest. I can tell by looking in your eyes, like, believe in who you are, find out who you are by daring to fail.
That's wonderful and well said. Yeah, I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a PK, right? My dad was a Church of Christ minister, and so I was born and raised in the church in a small town in southern New Mexico. And I think the biblical reference is test the spirits. You know, always test the spirits. I think that's great advice. I adore and love all of you very deeply, and I'm so glad we got to reconnect. I'm sad that it's been so long since we've touched base, and I'm glad that we've had this moment. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing and the things that you've shared today. To everyone else who's watching, this is our third chat. We've got one more on September 24th with Manuel Vinue, Greg Riedel-Bashan, and Kylie Kwan. It'll be posted on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel on Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. That's all we got. Really appreciate you being with us. I love you boys. I'm so glad to see you, and I hope we get to, touch each other soon. Give each other some real love.
Yeah, thank you for introducing us all.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's so special. It's nice to be able to connect people too. I think that's, another gift that we can give each other is, connecting people who are good and doing exciting things, we can like sort of all together lift each other up and continue to make things better and more exciting and feed each other and, love each other well. I love you guys. Be safe.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Thank you so much. Thank you,
I'll
Josh.
talk to you very, very soon.